You know, the only guarantees in life, death and taxes.
And but Sam Allardyce keeping you in the Premier League. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on the warm-up, coming to you live from Wembley ahead of the League One playoff final between Bradford City and Millwall. Just 10 years ago yesterday, the first FA Cup final was played right here, and Porky will tell us if he remembers it. Apparently, he was one of the people watching. We got the Millwall chairman coming on and a host of other guests. We'll be telling you exactly what we've been up to for the past few days, and of course why Arsenal have turned out a £1 billion bid for their club. Plus we'll have a 1 minute moan, and we'll have to tell you all about the trouble we had getting here. And let's not forget about the big wedding of the day as well. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to the Two Mikes live from Wembley on the League One playoff final warm-up. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm very, very delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Mr. Parry, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, very good morning, Mike, and to everybody as well. And I'm in the absolutely privileged position of standing just outside the Royal Box at Wembley in an empty, deserted Wembley Stadium, bar, you know, the men and the women and the people who are coming here today to tart this wonderful
when you say tarted up, are you saying it wasn't in very good shape before they got here?
No, it's in great shape. It's always in magnificent shape. On each match day, Mike, what they have to do is they have to come in and they have to put the bits and pieces in place. Now, the man who really most interests me is the guy who's doing the white lines. He's doing it at snail pace, literally. There's a chap over there. He's so dedicated to his job. He's got a pair of shorts on and he's got his white line machine in front of him. And he's just now doing the arc in front of the penalty area on the left-hand side of where I'm looking at him. I mean, in a day and age when we can build cars by robots, we've put men on the moon for the last 40 years. We have abilities to send people into clinics in Harley Street and replace the whole set of their teeth in just one day.
I've heard that.
Just one day. But still, we have a guy who's so dedicated to his job. He walks up and down the lines at about half a mile an hour to make sure those lines are absolutely gleaming white, perfect, like a tin of Dulux paint.
Yes, indeed.
On the pitch.
It's beautiful. In fact, there's more than one of them, isn't there, if you look closely?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you see the other one?
Absolutely.
You're only looking in one direction.
No, I'm looking in both directions, mate.
How can you do that?
Sorry.
How you managed to look in both directions?
There was a young lady singing the anthem today. I thought she might be from one direction, but of course they're an all-male band.
No, she's from Southend, actually.
She was from Southend as well. But listen, let me tell you, the spectacular view I'm getting here is that of an empty stadium. Now, I love football stadiums. They are cathedrals to the common man and to the football fan. And this is a cathedral to me. I was the one who was beating the drum for years to make sure this stadium got built, OK?
Well, I wish you knew your way around it a little bit better, because it took us a long time to find out where our little slot was.
Well, that's because, you see, we are in the multimedia business. And the last time I was here, we were on the broadcasting gantry.
Yeah, we had the same problem at Cheltenham. Do you remember that? You told us where to go at Cheltenham. We were staggering around Cheltenham for about an hour because we went to the place where you thought we used to go. And it turned out we hadn't gone there for years.
But I am in the multimedia business, as I'm saying. The last time I was here on the TV gantry. We're now in our broadcasting box just below the Royal Box. Magnificent sight. But let me tell you more about this stadium, because you mentioned in your opener that 10 years ago, this weekend, it was the first ever FA Cup final here. And I was here. I was sitting, I was in a box, actually, behind the goal on my left. And we came out of the box and sat in the seat in front of the box. It was the one in which Jose Mourinho's Chelsea...
This was Chelsea-Man United, right?
Chelsea-Man United, and Chelsea won 1-0 in extra time. I remember the extra time. I remember the players sitting on the turf.
That's not usual for you, is it? Normally you get to extra time and you've gone a blank by then.
Well, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to respond to that. And Didier Drogba, as you might have imagined, scored the vital goal which gave Chelsea their FA Cup victory on the first ever FA Cup final in the new stadium. I went to the last FA Cup final in the old stadium, so I've got quite an historic association with Wembley.
And the FA Cup final, of course, next weekend, isn't it?
It's the FA Cup final next weekend. I went to the first 20 games ever played at this magnificent stadium, and the thing is, it is totally different, of course, when it's empty to when it's full.
Yes,
when it's full, it is a sea of humanity, which is billowing like a wind or rippling like the waves in the sea.
Are you all right? Have you swallowed some kind of Wordsworth book on the way on the tube?
But at the moment, of course, it's empty, and my words are echoing all around this magnificent stadium.
By the way, where's the sun gone? Because the sun was very, very bright in the sky when we arrived here. It seems to have gone over all cloudy.
That's right. When you were trailing me around all areas of the ground to try and find where we should be, it's very hot and warm, and I was getting rather agitated.
Yes, I could see that.
As it is
now, do you think you should tell people who's actually playing here today rather than billowing on about what the weather's like?
You see, funny you should say that again, because obviously it's Bradford and Millwall today. It's a real north-south battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what you didn't know is that 30 years ago, this weekend, the first playoff finals took place at this not at this stadium, obviously, but at the old Wembley Stadium.
Is that right?
The first playoff finals.
Who are you supporting today? Are you supporting the northern boys from Bradford?
No, I'm neutral today. I'm neutral. I've got big associations from the past with Bradford. Obviously, I had to work there for about 6 months for quite a long time.
Well, let's hope that none of that comes up during the course of the first 90 minutes.
None of that will come up. There's no association between that and what's happening today for obvious reasons. And Millwall, where, of course, I have a lot of friends because it's southeast London.
You used to have a lot of friends in Millwall until you suggested they move out of town to North Kent.
No, I didn't, you see. So you corrupted what I said.
Not at all.
What I said was there will be some Millwall fans who will themselves have, exited or emigrated or relocated from southeast London itself to that part of the world, to the North Kent coastline, and you have to give them the opportunity and the chance to make up their minds what they want to do. I never said for a moment that they should go. I never said you should knock down Millwall's ground.
Didn't you? You didn't say it was a bit of a state and all that sort of thing.
No, great.
Well, I'm going to be keeping myself at a safe distance from you this afternoon, obviously, just in case I get mistaken for being some kind of compadre of yours.
I'm sure you
now,
are.
I must tell you a couple of headlines I want to draw your attention to. The first one, I thought you'd done an interview with one of the papers this morning, because the headline says, "I drove home so slowly in silence, I'd been a right idiot." I thought you were talking about driving home from one of our shows on Talk Sport that we do, of course, during the week. Turns out this is Sam Allardyce talking about how stupid he felt after being caught out by the Daily Telegraph. I don't know if you've read that interview, but he comes across as a very solid, straight guy.
Well, I've always thought Sam Allardyce was a very solid, straight guy, so that came as no surprise to me. And, the debate will go on for a very long time as to whether Sam was treated harshly by the football authorities in light of what turned out to be a conversation he had in which I say to everybody when we discuss it, he said all the time, I would have to consult with my FA employees before I could commit myself to do any work.
And he does say, as he drove into Wembley that morning, he was fired. He didn't expect to be fired. He thought he was just going to be given a going over and having a conversation about how they were going to sort it all out. But as we said at the time, the perception of wrongdoing is often enough, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. I think another headline we're going to have to look at during the course of today's show is I just do not get Tony Adams. I mean, the book he's written now, I think it's called Sober, isn't it? And it seems to me to be his life story from the sober side of life, whereas the other one, which is called Addicted, which I read all the way through, was a story of his life from an intoxicated
Well, that's quite a clever way to do it, I suppose, isn't it?
Well, I think it is. I think it's quite good. I mean, a lot
of versions of a life.
A lot of episodes which happened in the first one are referred to again in the second one, but from a different perspective. You're absolutely right. But I still I don't know whether... I mean, last night, Tony was in charge of his 7th final game at Grenada. Another defeat. They conceded more goals. They scored only their 3rd goal in 7 games. But amazingly, his comment about Arsene Wenger, which Arsene Wenger dismissed in 3 words yesterday, I do not really care what Tony Adams says.
Well, you'd have to say that, wouldn't you?
And have been dismissed. But Tony Adams has a very strange persona. I saw him last night in his, he had his suit on the touchline.
Did he have the waistcoat on?
No, he didn't have the waistcoat on last night. It's probably pretty hot out there, I think. But he had those sort of glasses on, rather similar to yours, very distinctive glasses. And he can't stop smiling, and that's that fools you. You think when you see the guy's body language and he's smiling and he's cheery and he's happy and he's upbeat, you think something good's happening in this guy's life.
Right.
In fact, he's got the worst managerial record on planet Earth.
Although, as some people did point out, maybe Gianfranco Zola has a slightly worse one than even he has, but he hasn't done terribly well. And without this sort of statement wishing to be misconstrued, you'd have to say he was a much better footballer while he was drinking than he is a manager while he was being sober.
Well, that's a very harsh statement. Well, it really is. I mean, you're trying to say there's something good about bladderation.
And that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, when you change the way you are as a winner, sometimes things change along with it.
Yes. No, you could
and
well
you can't
be right.
always do that. But we want to hear from Arsenal fans as well, because not only has Tony Adams been having having a go at Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
There is a bid on the table. There was a bid on the table last night from Alisher Usmanov, who, of course, is a shareholder in Arsenal. £1 billion he bid to Stan Kroenke. Stan Kroenke turned it down. What do you make of that, Porky?
Well, what I make of that is that if Arsenal, as seems likely, don't qualify for the Champions League after tomorrow, then I wonder how much Arsenal's going to be worth in 3 years' time. Because once a blip enters the pattern of success, as it did at Manchester United, you have a hell of a problem reverting back to that pattern of success. So if Mr. Usmanov is valuing the club at £1 billion now, and Mr. Kroenke decides not to sell, which is what the perception of most people is going to be, I wonder if Arsenal will be worth £1 billion in 3 years' time. You know, I wonder whether it'll be worth 800 million in 3 years' time, and I wonder whether Mr. Kroenke will be tempted as a businessman to sell at a peak price.
It's hard to believe the Arsenal value would go down. However, I suppose if they don't get themselves back into the Champions League, stranger things have happened. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. We're at Wembley. We're live ahead, of course, of the League One playoff final between Bradford City and Millwall. We've already got a few tweets coming in from Bradford fans saying, please don't let Porky jinx Bradford. Make him go for Millwall. A lot of Millwall fans saying, please don't let him jinx Millwall. Well, so it's good that you've been neutral, I guess.
I am being absolutely neutral. The Porky jinx, of course, doesn't exist. I mean, the number of predictions I've made, which have been absolutely spot on, and all you ever do is highlight the ones that go slightly wrong.
Incorrect. I see you managed to jinx Maria Sharapova now. She's not going to get a wild card into the French Open.
That's her own choice. She's done the right thing. I've always said
she's been refused a wild card into the French Open.
I don't care about that. The point is she's not applying for a wild card to get to Wimbledon. I was going to say Wembley then. We're at Wembley.
She's got more chance of playing here than she has at the French Open.
Yeah, she has, But she's going to play her way through the qualifiers at Roehampton to try and get to Wimbledon that way. And I think that shows the spirit and the strength of the woman who was very harshly treated by the tennis authorities.
Well, you say very harshly treated, but she was using illegal substance. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's go back to Mr. Usmanov, right? Because I said just before the break, we want to hear from Arsenal fans. 08717
Certainly do.
223344. Because in what planet does a guy make a bid of £1 billion, I should say, to buy a football club in the Premier League, which is not even currently in the top four and is unlikely to be in the Champions League next season? And the guy who owns it, Stan Kroenke, turns around and goes, no thanks.
Well, he hasn't yet.
We're fine.
No, he hasn't
We're
yet.
absolutely fine.
No, he hasn't had a response to the offer. All we know is that business analysts are saying, on the basis of Mr. Kroenke's track record, that he doesn't sell businesses, and he certainly doesn't sell sporting franchises.
Well, all the information I'm getting,
he's going to take
all the information I'm getting is that he's going to reject the bid.
Well, that's what I've just said to you, but it's not finite yet, and it's not final. And you've got to remember, Mr. Usmanov did not become the 63rd richest person in the world and the 5th richest person in Britain by taking no for an answer when he wanted to push a business deal through.
Why doesn't he go and buy put some more money into Everton? Because his mate, Mr. Mashiri, is a mate of his, isn't he?
Well, they're all very close, these guys, because they're very clever, they're very successful, they're big rollers, they have ambitions.
Big rollers?
Yeah.
Do you mean high rollers?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. They highlight successful operations and organisations like Arsenal, like Everton, and yes, you're right, they're all mates because they all have the same values and they're all successful.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they've all had a bit of help from their friends in Russia, I suppose you might say.
I get by with a little help from my friends.
We might be talking a bit about that later on, sadly. Now, the other question I've got for you as well concerns, because we haven't seen each other all week and we've got many things to talk about, what you've been up to. Well, it's been great, isn't it? I actually feel rejuvenated. I feel as if my batteries have been recharged. I feel like a man with a new mouth for the teeth, funnily enough. We'll get back to that later.
And we're going to talk about that on Monday
Ronald
night.
Koeman said about your friend, Mr. Ross Barkley, whether he's going to be there at the club next season. He's making a lot of noises now, which make it sound as though he's not going to be there.
Well, once again, Mr. Koeman was absolutely honest. What he said, he was asked a question at a press conference, do you feel confident about Ross Barkley staying at the club next season? He said no. And he was only being completely honest. He said that Ross Barkley and his agent have had meetings with himself, with the chairman, Mr. Bill Kenwright, and I think even with the owner, but I don't know that for certain, and that there is no conclusive verdict. Hey, talking about Mr. Kenwright, by the way. So I went off to the football writers' dinner on Thursday night.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. By the way,
even though you're not a football writer technically.
I am a member of the Football Writers Association. That's why I was invited.
Right.
And by the way, they're much better behaved events than they used to be.
Are they?
When I used to go there years ago, and it was held in the Royal Lancaster Hotel. It was. You used to get there about 2 hours before the reception actually started.
Right.
And some people had been on the Terp since lunchtime. You know, that's the way people...
They'd take the day off.
Yeah, they'd take the day off. That's the way they'd behaved in those days. And they would turn up at the Royal Lancaster, you know, being propped up by friends and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they were so glad when they slumped down into their chair at the dinner table, but then fell asleep in their soup and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all anymore.
A bit more corporate now.
It's more corporate. Now, it moved to the... Is it the Landman? What's it called?
Not the Landmark.
The Landmark, that's right, yeah. So the Landmark. So we go there, and it's a very sophisticated hotel. And we're up on the first floor at the reception.
Yeah.
Now, in the old days, the cheap wine and champagne in the reception was free.
Yeah.
But this is £7 a glass now.
£7 a glass?
Yes,
for wine?
For wine, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
how many did you buy?
Me, I bought about 5, I think,
really?
or something like that, but full company.
Yes.
You know. But the point is, that put a bit of a damper on it, because a bit of the old school guys there from the Football Writers Association, mumbling and grumbling.
Yeah, or the old drunks.
Yeah, it wasn't like this in the old days, you know. Yeah. Where I thought it was more sophisticated.
Well, you mean no punch-ups or anything?
There were no punch-ups. I mean, one year I got involved in a punch-up with Joe Lovejoy. Do you remember?
I do remember Joe Lovejoy, yeah.
The Sunday Times correspondent who felt it necessary to thump me on the chin with his fist. He thought I'd said something horrible about one of his mates.
Really?
Well, in fact, no, actually, the truth is, I was then the Supremo at the Press Association.
I see, yeah.
And what happened was, some old deadbeat in the sports department had been irritating me for 4 months, right? And I sacked him the week of the Football Writers Association.
Well, so Joe Lovejoy decided to punch you on that?
Yeah, he did, yeah. So they'd started together on some paper, you know, some local paper somewhere, both northern boys.
Yeah.
You know, this guy ends up working with the Press Association in Leeds. He's just a complete deadbeat. Gave him half a dozen chances to get his act together. He didn't, so I just had to weigh him off, you know. So I got down there, and Joe, who, you know...
Presumably he reported you to Joe and said this...
It was a bit sneaky, because he started having words with me. I had words back with him. He said, should we sort this out outside?
Yeah.
And then I'm not experienced at getting into punch-ups. So,
no, I thought you were.
No. So I said, yes, OK. But as we walked towards the exit, Joe punched me in the face before we got there. So knocked me over the back of a couch.
Oh, dear.
And I went missing for about 10 minutes because I was concussed. And somebody saw one of my legs sticking up on the back of the couch.
It's not exactly a great tale of daring do, is it?
No, not really. No, no, I never had a chance to
Well, you should be
myself.
pleased it's not like that anymore.
Well, I'm very glad it's not like that anymore. But anyway, the point of my story is, unbeknown to me, in the very same hotel, the Landmark, I completely missed the fact that Bill Kenwright and Mr. Koeman were dining in the restaurant in the hotel discussing Everton business.
Dear me.
Wouldn't you thought they'd have called on me to
Well, you
come
would
and
have
help?
thought that maybe they spotted you and quickly scarpered out the side entrance before they got any more involved. I see Mr. Koeman, by the way, has appeared on the front page of yet another Spanish publication this morning, talking about his favourite goal he ever scored for Barcelona.
Yeah, but hang on.
I mean, how many more hints is he going to drop, this guy?
Hang on. If I had at one time scored the winning goal for my hometown team Chester, right?
Yeah.
And we'd won the European Cup because of it, don't you think occasionally I would appear on the front page of the Chester Chronicle to be reminded on certain anniversaries of the great things that I'd done for the club?
Well,
you
would think you might do, but of course you wouldn't be. But instead, what I can bring you is some more hot news of the Porky jinx. Stephen says this. Only the last week, Porky was talking about buying himself a new Jag F-Type.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's being recalled. The bolt retaining the rear low control arm to the joint fixing may not have been tightened to the correct specification, which means if you've got one or you're going to order one, it's going to be recalled and taken back.
Well, mine won't be because it'll be fixed before it arrives.
Are you sure?
Well, I hope so.
Really? Yeah. Well, we shall see. Now, we've got loads going on. We've got a massive game here today, of course. Millwall, which is my local team down in South London, are taking on Bradford City. They are. They're less than half a mile away from me.
You couldn't walk there. You don't even know the direction.
Of course I do. I drive past it every day.
Nonsense.
They are half a mile away from where I go.
Oh, when was the last game you attended there, then?
The last Millwall game I attended, I can't remember. Probably it was before they actually moved to the new stadium.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Quite a long time ago.
But like over 20 years ago.
But funnily enough, we're going to be having Dell Strain on later on, who's a big mate of ours, right?
Dell Strain.
Big comedian from Scotland, big Millwall fan, right? He was always trying to get me to go down there.
How is he a Millwall fan from Scotland?
Because he's lived in Millwall all his life, mostly.
So what's he doing in Scotland?
He's not in Scotland, he's here. He'll be here today at Wembley.
I thought you said he was Scottish.
He is Scottish. People from Scotland do travel outside of Scotland. Have you not noticed that?
Why do Scottish people support Millwall?
Well, why do you support a team that's not from Chester?
No, I support a team that my parents inherited because they were born in the hinterland.
When Dell comes on, you can ask him why he supports Millwall, but I'm sure he'll give you a very good reason.
Yeah, OK.
You know, there are people, Rod Stewart, for example, who supports Celtic.
Yes.
We went to a Celtic game with Rod Stewart. You didn't say to him, how come you support Celtic, did you?
No, of course I don't, because I'm an ignorant question. It's all to do with his father's heritage,
Of course, exactly right. By By the way, speaking of father's heritage, you can read a bit about my father's heritage and my heritage in sport in the Scottish Herald today, the Glasgow Herald.
Oh, that drivel of a column that you've written today.
No, they asked me...
You have to inflict that on the Scottish people.
They asked me to write about my Sporting Saturday, which I've done. We're going to talk to Stuart Weir later on.
Got a Sporting Saturday.
Who is, of course, the head of sport at the Herald and Times Group. And if you go on Facebook and you go on the Twitter at the Two Mics, you'll be able to find it.
Drinking red, white and whiskey is not a sport.
It is in my house.
No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. It's so sad that you're leaving. It takes time.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. We're coming to you live from Wembley ahead of the League One playoff final, which is, of course, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, live right here on Talk Sport between Bradford City and Millwall. Mr. Mike Parry is here with me. I'm Mike Graham. He's out there supping up the atmosphere, looking around the stadium. It was raining a minute ago. Sun seems to come out again, Porky.
It certainly has come out again. And do you know what's really interesting here, Mike, is why the roof is here at Wembley, which I'll tell you about in a minute, OK?
Go on, tell me.
I'm going to tell you all about it. The roof here was originally designed, although it's never actually been explained properly, it was originally designed to keep shadow off the pitch for TV purposes.
It's not really working, is it?
Well, because of where the stadium is and because of the way the sun folds across the stadium at 3 o'clock, which is a traditional time for the kick-off of an FA Cup final, the roof has been brilliantly designed to make sure that you don't get the phenomenon when you're watching on telly, going from darkness to light, if you see what I mean.
Because I'm looking at it now and I can see some shadow. Are you saying that by 3 o'clock that's all going to have disappeared?
Yes, it will, it'll all disappear, and that gives the finest quality television of any football stadium in the world.
Is that right?
So that's another brilliant aspect of this brilliant stadium.
Okay.
It is the best in the world, it is the most modern, and I feel privileged to be here.
Okay, well, why don't we listen to Cher while we're doing it? She ever played a concert here as well?
No, she's never played a concert here, but she's 71 years of age today, and that's fantastic. Yeah, when you look at Cher, I mean, I would still date Cher if she was around.
Would you?
And
I'm sure she'd be delighted to hear that.
Well, yeah, of course she'd be delighted to hear that.
Did she have all her hair removed or something by some kind of bizarre technique that was used back in the 90s or something?
I don't know. If I was taking a lady out for dinner or for a cocktail in, some swish bar, the first question on my lips would not be, oh, by the way, have you had your hair removed and replanted
because she's famous for her wigs is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think she's quite as open about it as Dolly Parton, who, when once asked, how long does it take to do your hair before you go on stage, she said, how should I know? I'm not there when it's being done. Which I thought was a great response.
That's not bad. But listen, I'm looking at some interesting interviews that Cher has given recently, right?
Yes.
And apparently she's described her 1990s output, including that song we just heard, called Believe, as basically crap. She says she hates it. She thinks that her whole 90s period was an absolute nightmare.
I thought it was great.
She also dislikes all of her 1970s singles, including Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves. And she says, I'm not a Cher fan.
Yeah, well,
I mean, what sort of a person says that?
Do you remember that great song she made, and I'm gonna find the time.
If I can turn back time.
If I can turn back time, that's right.
If I can turn back time, I would as well.
That was filmed on the USS New Jersey, which was the biggest battleship ever made in America.
Right.
And in fact, Ronald Reagan brought it out of mothballs and sent it to the Middle East when he had a problem there in 1984 after a lot of Marines were sadly blown up, and
how did you manage to get into a conversation about Cher?
Well, it's an iconic warship because she then filmed the video for that song on board that ship, right?
Yeah.
And it caused such kerfuffle amongst the sailors that, somebody very high up at the US Navy said, we will never do that again.
Yeah.
The rank and file's discipline completely disappeared and
16-year-old stripper.
Yeah, and was parading around the ship in rather alluring sort of clothes. And the male fraternity on board the ship couldn't handle it.
No, I don't blame them. How about this from her as well? I don't like getting old. I'm shocked that I can still run across the stage at my age. I thought I'd be dead. Yeah. Because she still does a load of shows in Las Vegas, of course.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, of course she does. Yeah. She's done sporting events, hasn't she? She's done these things like starting off the old...
I'm sure she's done the Super Bowl, hasn't she?
The Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So many of these clubs to exist and coexist at the same kind of level.
Absolutely.
It's going to be fascinating how they all sort of pan out over time. Fulham, of course, missed their chance to come up into the from the playoffs, didn't they?
Quite right. And we didn't mention QPR, who've had a tumultuous couple of seasons.
Well, they're supposed to be building a new stadium over by White City, aren't they? I don't know what's happened to that scenario.
And you just wonder how many over overloaded clubs are going to be in London quite soon.
No, absolutely right. Now, sorry to do this to you, but a couple more statistics have come in. One from a tweet from Sport who say, if you removed all 24 of Romelu Lukaku's goals this season, Everton would still be in 7th place.
Yeah, so
because none of his goals have scored. I mean, I've said this to you all season. Have been scored in particularly important matches.
Yeah, I don't know what point you're making there.
Well, I'm making a point that as much as you've been saying that he is the biggest goal scorer in the Premier League, which of course he's not anymore, because Harry Kane overtook him last night or the other night. The point is that his goals are not scored in important matches.
Yeah, well, that is drivel.
Well, it's not drivel because the statistics back it up.
That's drivel to equal the drivel that you got published in the Herald newspaper.
That's all. I'm getting lots of praise for that, by the way. Lots of people saying, what a fantastic article. Great insight. You should do more of it.
The only ones I've seen. Thank you for providing us with some fish and chip paper on a Saturday night.
Pete says
MG.
this: is Porky going to Everton tomorrow? It's a bid farewell to Ronald Koeman, Romelu Lukaku, and Ross Barkley.
I very much hope I will be there. It's at the Emirates, and it'll be a fine end to the season.
And David says this: how about this word, equalmenical? Definition: equally stupid on all subjects.
That's very harsh.
Which was something you came out with the other day.
Very harsh. Listen, I get sent these books all the time.
Which books?
Well, all sorts of books, from all sorts of people, because the people know I have a literary.
What you mean, as in publishers?
Yeah, publishers and all that kind of stuff. Do you know Mick Ronson is?
I do know Mick Ronson is, yeah. He's not alive anymore, sadly.
No, he's not. So
he used to be David Bowie's guitarist in Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
Right, so I've been sent a book. It's called Beside Bowie, the Mick Ronson story.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's a fascinating book, but the one bit I've picked up on it, because somebody pointed out to me, was the extraordinary open marriage between David Bowie and Angie Bowie.
Yes, indeed.
Which was an incredible arrangement.
Well, you might remember going back to, was it last year's Celebrity Big Brother that Angie Bowie was in?
That's right.
And she was quite an interesting woman, I think you might say.
Yes.
In more ways than one.
I remember her, as a very young reporter. She once came to Newcastle when I was in Newcastle, and, what a fascinating woman. Now, I have to say, the most recent picture of her is that, she has developed into a sort of typical middle-aged woman, or sort of older middle-aged now, because she's a bit older than that.
Surely early middle-age, as you are. You've described yourself as being in early middle-age.
Oh, no, I'm very early middle-aged.
Well, you're saying that she's older than you?
She is older than me,
Is she?
Yeah. Now, the point is that she said there wasn't a problem at all when we got married. We both decided we were bisexual, and that was okay. And she said, I didn't care about anything.
Family show, this,
I know it's a family show, but this is all very family-oriented stuff. I didn't.
Interesting family you got there.
Yeah, very strange family. I didn't care about his lovers as long as they realised I was Queen, so that's okay. But the most extraordinary thing is that the chap who came out of their unison, their boy, who they christened originally as Zoe Bowie,
that's right,
is now in fact Duncan Jones.
That's right,
and a very successful producer,
and also a very fine. I wouldn't really hesitate. I would hesitate to call him a young man now, because when his father died, he was the guy that kind of arranged everything and sort of was the spokesman for the family, and came across as a very, very solid young man.
Indeed, he did. But it was one of those fascinating, crazy periods, when anything went. And Mick Ronson, apparently, according to the book, as I've flicked through it, didn't get anything like the credit he should have got for some of those great Bowie songs.
Yeah. But if you look at some of those early Top of the Pops appearances and some of the videos and stuff like that, I mean, you could tell that they had a magic about them that was similar, not dissimilar to Ronnie Wood and Rod Stewart in the Faces.
And sort of Jagger and Richards and the Stones and that kind of stuff,
Very
and
much
I didn't realise that, after Ground Control to Major Tom came out, that David Bowie had a big lull then for 2 or 3 years. Some of it was to do with contractual stuff. So he went around writing records for all sorts of people like Mott the Hoople and others.
Well, all the young dudes he gave to them.
Yeah, and who was the other guy? Who was very weird, I
don't know. There's a lot of very weird people around at that time.
a lot of very weird people around. Lou somebody?
You're talking about Lou Reed.
Lou Reed, yeah.
Transformer.
Was that
Walk on the Wild Side?
Walk on the Wild Side, that's what I was thinking about,
It's hard to believe that you've been living this long and you can't remember any of these people's names.
What do you mean?
It's absolutely incredible.
Of course I can.
However, we're going to change tack slightly now, because it is, of course, time for this.
Right.
Now, the 1 minute moan, I think, bizarrely, you won last week, even though it was ludicrously hopeless, right? And I think it now makes it something like 10-4 in my favour. So you've still got an opportunity, perhaps, to catch up before we get to the middle of August.
Okay.
Have you got one ready?
I have got one ready.
You have got one ready. So I'm told, it's 14-7 to me,
14-7.
according to the latest update. So you've got 50% of my worth. So see if you can change and tilt it a little bit, a bit like the Wembley roof that you were describing.
Yes.
If you would like to go first, I would like to start the clock now.
Okay. Right, my 1 minute moan this week is about wobbly tables in pubs and restaurants, OK? It is a damn disgrace, and I'm getting fed up with it, right? If I go into an establishment where I'm going to spend money and mine host hasn't prepared my table properly, then he can push off. In future, I'm going to leave, right? Now, before they open the doors to a pub or a restaurant that's laid out with cloths and tablecloths and all that kind of stuff, they should have a designated member of staff who goes round and tests the tables to make sure they're not wobbly. Because if there's a wonky leg, or if there's legs shorter than the other 3 legs, it's just not good enough. Now, I put my back out last week by getting onto my hands and knees and trying to put 2 bar mats under the shortest leg of a wonky table that had 3 legs that were all the same length, because there's no good moving. I have my favourite table in certain establishments. I'm going to sit there. When I go in and I sit on my seat, the minute I put my pint of beer on the table and it dips, is my heart dips as well, because I know I'm going to have one of these situations where I've got to call some underling under to get down on his hands and knees and fix that table. However, if they're too busy running around, they can't do that. I have to do it myself, and it's just not good enough.
That is pathetic.
It's just not good enough. I put my back out doing it.
Well, I don't care. Nobody cares about that.
No, that everybody cares about it.
I can't believe you
wobbly
would possibly...
tables in pubs and restaurants should be banned.
All right, if you go over the edge, you get banned from the actual. You get disqualified for going over the time limit allotted. It's called a 1 minute moan, not a 1.5 minute moan. If you don't mind.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
I'm going to now set you up for your 1 minute moan, OK?
Good.
So if the organiser has got himself sorted, I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, go!
My 1 minute moan is about one man, and it can only be about one man this week because only one man deserves the wrath of what my 1 minute moan is all about. He is, of course, Mr. Julian Assange. This is a guy who has completely wasted everybody's time for the best part of the last 7 years. He's been holed up inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London, right? He claims, unable to see his children as much as he would like to, which is rubbish. He put himself in there because he was too scared to go back to Sweden to face trial on a series of allegations that he says are untrue. He's cost this country 13 million quid, right? What I'm suggesting we should do is somebody should land a bill on the Ecuadorian embassy, say to them, we're going to repossess your building, we're going to repossess your everything that you've got inside that building. We're going to take Assange out of there. We're going to take him down to trial because he's already ducked that one in London already. If he walks out of the place, he's going to be arrested because he apparently is due to appear in court some years ago. The guy's an absolute waste of space. Nobody cares what he thinks. He comes out and professes to be offended and says that he doesn't forget. Well, I wish we could forget him.
OK, that was very political. And a lot of our millions of listeners, don't really want to get into politics on a Saturday, particularly when we're at Wembley.
Absolute rubbish.
So we'll wait for the verdict from the producer as to who won that.
Producer, Mr. Dave Levine, will give his verdict,
While we were doing that, in just 2 minutes, OK?
The rain's come on again.
Not only that, but all the people who are out there preparing the pitch and the stadium for the game, and I think the doors will open in about 5 minutes, actually.
Well, it looks as if it's already prepared as well as it can be.
Yeah, they are now swathed in these sort of almost Pacamac type like things that people pull over their bodies and their heads when it starts raining, and they are literally cowering from the intensity of the rain. Now, they look, like when you see the end of the London Marathon and people wrap those silver blankets around
They get covered in the silver blankets,
This is almost the equivalent the same, but it's they're polythene Pacamacs.
Yes.
I don't know why Pacamacs ever went out of fashion, actually. If I had a Pacamac to carry around in my bag all the time...
Why don't you just cover yourself in that cellophane that you get from the cleaners?
Well, you could
cover yourself in that. I'm slightly worried, actually, because I did not bring any kind of weather material to protect myself. I'm wearing a very nice suit, and I don't really want to be walking out of this place getting rained on, I have to say.
What an oaf you are, honestly.
Really? How about this from Urban Spaceman? Porky's an expert on short, wobbly legs. Who'd have thought it? Richie says, is Porky worried that a wonky table will fall on him when he falls bladderated under it?
No, I don't.
On the other hand, Brunton says, Porky has utterly smashed the 1 minute moan. And Pete says, to summarise Porky's 1 minute moan, me.
No.
Should be an easy win for old MG.
You see, I tell you, when I first fell out with people who had tables in their pubs with short legs, when I was down on the coast...
At the time, by the way.
Well, don't worry about the time. When I was down on the coast, right, I was at a table near a window. It was right next to the window. And I sat there because the lovely breeze was coming in. However, I sat down and realised it was wobbly. So I put my beer on the side of the table near the window. I went then onto my knee to try and correct the short leg, which was on the far side of the table from the window.
Yes.
And what happened was, the minute I lifted it, My pint of beer went through the window.
Well, you see, you should have known.
I mean, it went straight
out of the premises.
Yeah, went out of the premises onto a table outside,
Right.
and it did alarm the people sitting there to suddenly be covered and smashed in glass and beer.
I'm not surprised.
But that was not my fault. That was down to the wobbly leg on the table,
Yeah.
and I refused to take any responsibility for it.
Yeah.
So, well, if you give me a table with a wobbly leg, which I've got to repair myself, then these accidents are going to happen. Get
No
your act
change
together.
there. You'll never take responsibility
I
for
got
anything that
barred.
happens when you get barred in pubs.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens on a regular basis. We are the Two Mikes. We're live from Wembley. We're just probably an hour and a half away now from the kick-off, very shortly between Bradford City and Millwall.
Yep.
Very, very exciting. Quick message from Damir. He says, my son has a birthday today. He is 16 and his name is Marius. Can Porky congratulate him on his birthday? He says he's from Bosnia.
Okay, Marius from Bosnia.
Yeah.
Have a very, very happy 16th birthday. It's a great name, that, by the way. I'm fed up of Common and Garden names like John and Dave and all that kind of stuff.
You like Marius?
So I like Marius. It's very good, and
Okay.
it lifts the profile a bit, and you'll be a very popular young man.
Okay. Well, we've got another man with a nice name here. Dell Strain has joined us.
We
Dell,
have
very
indeed.
good afternoon to you. Well known to TalkSport or listeners, of course. Dell
Yes.
has been around for many, many years. Used to be on loads of our shows.
Indeed.
A big fan of the Two Mikes. Big fan of Millwall.
Indeed.
Dell, can you start off, please, by explaining to Porky exactly where the Scottish connection is with Millwall?
Will do. First of all, nice to be here with you boys.
Yeah, thank you, Dell.
Basically, they were started by a jam factory.
Yeah.
And that's where the Scottish connection came from,
Yes.
actually. The Morton's Jam Factory when they were Millwall Rovers over in the Isle of Dogs.
Well, there are colonies of Scots people all around the world, aren't there? From industry, steel in America, all this kind of stuff, you know, down in South America. And in fact, even in Northampton, there's a colony of Scottish people, isn't there?
That's correct. Northampton and Crewe, I believe, because of the railwaymen.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, the
absolutely.
railwaymen.
Yeah, that's great. And so you're a descendant of one of those pioneers from the jam factory, are you?
No. I just moved to the area, and it was the magical year when we went up to the English Old First Division with Teddy and Jimmy
right.
Carter, Tony Cascarino, and it was just support your local team because my Scottish team is Kilmarnock.
Right,
so blue and white.
Blue and white, got it, yeah.
There's a blue and white connection.
Excellent.
Tony Cascarino is going to be here actually in a little while, and Albert Martin's going to be here as well.
Yeah.
Big day out for all the Millwall fans, Dell. I mean, it's a weird sort of weathery day, isn't it? Nobody's quite sure whether it's going to pour all afternoon or whether the sun's going to be out. What are you expecting as the game, though?
Well, 4 seasons in the one day in the weather. What I expect fully, I went to the last 5 away games. We looked like we weren't going to do it. I didn't think we were going to do it. We done it. We got here. Today's ours. After what happened last year, the injury in the warm-up, changing the captaincy, a lot of the young people come to Wembley and they sort of get glazed by it. That's not going to happen today. They've got the bit between their teeth and they've got the taste of last year's defeat. So we know what it's like to lose here. It's only to not that distant a memory.
Like charcoal in the mouth from last year, is that it?
Yeah, it's like rank Bovril.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Charcoal in the mouth is a good image, that. Yeah, but also Bradford are no slouches when it comes to a bit of giant killing and a bit of cup
Stewie
action.
McCall, their manager.
He's an ex-Everton guy, right?
And Rangers, of course.
Yes, that's right. Of course
but they couldn't giant kill us in the semis last year. That's all I'll say about that. We've been here pretty regular.
That's right. Now, we've heard from your chief executive earlier on, didn't we? And he was telling us, what a struggle it is to establish yourself as a team in London outside the big boys. I mean, you as a fan carry that burden week in, week out.
No glory ever hunted. Kilmarnock and Millwall, my 2 teams. I'm proud of Millwall. I believe we're the last bastion of the terraces for someone that grew up in the 80s like me. I'm proud of us. We're the smallest, biggest club in the world. I mean, we've got Japanese, Czechs, Russians, Italians coming weekly to buy our merchandise. But it's not in that sort of corporate premiership way where it's only about that. Where they're filming everything, even when the team against you scores. It's pure. They get us. The people that get us and the players that get us, they get us.
Yeah, okay.
The bad news on the old stats front. I know you're a big fan of statistics,
I certainly am.
because you do like facts, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't like to just have fairy notions.
facts of the
You like the facts of the situation. The team finishing 5th, right, has not won the League One playoff since 2005-06, when Barnsley managed to get through into the Championship against Swansea City. So the stats are against you,
the
man.
portents.
They sure are, but that's like me saying the last time we was here and we actually did do it, we were in the same end. We're talking Gypsy Rosalie and a ball, crystal ball there. It's superstitions and
I'm sure you are.
juju.
Yes.
I'm sure you are. How do you think they're going to win it today, then?
2-1. Morrison and Gregory.
And what is the game plan going to be against,
I would imagine we will use the pitch as it's slightly bigger than
it's a lot
theirs.
bigger, I think.
Yeah.
A lot bigger than the pitches you normally play on.
I mean, last year we had people hurt in the warm-up. We had to change captaincy. This year, the boys have had a couple of weeks there because, when they went to Bristol that weekend, there was about 5 or 6 of them with food poisoning. And they weren't very well.
Right.
Jed Wallace, I'm expecting big things from him today.
Really?
He sets the midfield alight,
Okay, old Jed.
And is it? Will it be a Millwall sort of home sound rather than more Millwall than Bradford, or what?
I don't want to sound uppity, but basically it's the 5th time in about 8 years we've been here, and 38,000s, the 42,000s. A lot of people seem to have dropped it out today. I don't know, because last year when I come... Just because they treat... I come back a month after that with Scotland and England.
Treat the Millwall fans with respect?
Not last year, no. Drugs, dogs, drugs, matrix, warning signs,
I
heavy
think you'll
core.
find that at most big games these days.
No, we're not used to it. It's only in Premier League games, so it was a bit of a shock for us to be treated like that.
You see, you join the big boys, then you've got to play by big boy rules. That's the problem.
Cocaine rules.
I mean, who knows? What we can say is... This is a family show, of course. Now, Dell, good luck to you. You've predicted a score of 2-1.
2-1.
We'll come and see you later on and see if you've got that right. We've got lots more coming up, Mr. Parry, though, of course. We're going to be trying to grab Brian Viner to talk about this David Beckham story, which we're going to do in a little while. We've got lots and lots of other tweets and things coming in as well. Don't forget you can tweet us at the 2 Mikes, at IROMG, and at Mike Parry 8. A lot of people are quite surprised at your bizarre sort of scruffy look, because I put out
what do you mean?
quite a few pictures of you.
I'm got a bizarre scruffy look.
Well, you have. I mean, I put pictures of you out there on the seats at Wembley. I've got pictures of you, standing in front of the pitch with me.
Yes.
I'm in a suit as usual.
Yes.
And you just are always wearing the same old rubbish.
No. I don't wear the same old rubbish. I don't wear rubbish in the first place. I don't know what on earth you're talking about.
Yeah.
We've got old Dell here. He's got his old tracksuit on today. And
He has. Well, he's got a big
game
game to do. How about this from Sam? He says MG's 1 minute moan, and another one for him. Paul Meister's overdoing the bladderation again, blaming the table.
No, well, the tables, when they're wonky, can disturb your whole afternoon, and it's not good enough to say you've got to go and put a beer mat under one particular leg. It's not good enough at all.
And Kojak says, Porky, the tables are unsteady to stop the fat bladderated crooners standing on them, belting out poor tunes.
Is that some sort of insinuation that I have indulged in that sort of behaviour?
Well, that's the suggestion.
Not for 30 years, I can tell you.
Is that right?
By the way, there's a bit of action out here at Wembley because a youngsters team, very young lads, I would say probably under 12s or under 11s or something like that, being led out now by their coach, their trainer, to take part in a mini competition.
Yes.
And it's fantastic, isn't it, to think that, because you always make hay out of the fact that you once played on the Wembley pitch for a press 11.
No, I did. Not this
lads,
one, the old one, of course.
These young lads are lining up here as though they were playing in the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
What a moment that must be
Well,
for
it's
them.
very exciting, isn't it? I mean, there is something about Wembley, regardless of what anybody says about it, that everybody wants to see and everybody wants to go to.
Of course they do.
It's the Kids' Cup.
It is. It is the Kids' Cup. Yeah, that's right. And my God, what a tale they'll have to tell in years to come.
Yes, indeed. Now here's a story for you that I need your opinion on, right?
7, 8 aside.
Yeah, never mind how many aside it is.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's 6 aside with 2 substitutes.
That could be it. Yeah,
I mean, you can't guarantee everything just by looking at it.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy's out of the Wentworth
It's
tournament.
amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
He's not doing well, that boy.
How
I think
did that happen?
Well, he's done something to his rib. He's got a rib injury, right? I believe he's suffering from the Porky Jigs because ever since you actually suggested that he might start winning some more majors. In the end, he hasn't been able to play terribly well. You know, he didn't make the cut at the Players' Championship. He didn't make the cut in one of the majors that he played at before that. And in fact, unfortunately for him, he didn't do terribly well at the Masters either.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
So, what have you got to say about that?
Well, what can I say about it? I can't say anything really, can I?
Well, what do you mean you can't say anything? You've never been known to be able to not say anything.
Rory McIlroy has astonished me by taking in something like $250 million in promotional deals in the last 3 months. Yeah. Not in 1 year.
Got a new set of clubs.
That's in over 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, but he's getting worse though, that's the point.
Well, I sometimes wonder when people start acquiring that sort of wealth, right? Whether or not their attitude to the sport they're playing alters. It has to, because you become beyond being a member of the human race.
Anymore.
Well, I'm sure he's very hungry, but it must alter your attitude to your job. What people at the highest level of sport do is they pursue excellence and they strive for ultimate success.
Yes.
And Rory McIlroy's got that in spades. And I just wonder whether sometimes that does change your attitude to the way you approach your game.
Pete says this: only Mike Parry could say he doesn't like common or garden names, like Mike.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Michael's quite famous, isn't it, really? Michelangelo?
Michelangelo's not called Mike.
Yeah, but
he's not one of the two Michelangelos.
I think there was an apostle somewhere along the line as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think he would have been known as Mike by his mates.
Thanks very much indeed. We are the two Mikes, not the two Michelangelos. This is Talk Sport. TalkSport 2 is the home of the Super League, Premiership Rugby, La Liga and so much more, and you can tune in right now by retuning your DAB or by downloading the TalkSport app. Fantastic variety of live sport on TalkSport 2 over the next 7 days.
Absolutely right. The commentary of Arsenal versus Everton tomorrow on the final day of the Premier League season. Come on, you Blues. I'm complete neutral. Commentary of both Real Madrid and Barcelona with the title to be decided on the final day of the La Liga season.
Come on, you blanks.
Come on, you blanks, yeah. The playoffs and final of the 2017 Indian Premier League and the Aviva Premiership semi-finals, Exeter versus Saracens, I beg your pardon, and Wasps versus Leicester. And don't forget, TalkSport 2 has dedicated shows devoted to European football, to golf, to racing, to cricket, and much, much more.
Now, I can tell you that the Kids' Cup final that's just finished, looks like there was a penalty shootout. It was between Oxford United and Sheffield United.
That's
and I've
right.
got a feeling Sheffield United have just edged it, to be honest.
Some poor youngster who's from Oxford, he stepped up to take a penalty, and I'm afraid it whizzed past the left-hand side post as the goalkeeper is standing in his goal.
Oh, yeah.
And the goalkeeper was punching the air, and it meant that then a youngster from Sheffield United had to step up and score to clinch the competition, and he did. So you have to say that will be a day that the little lad will remember for the rest of his life. And it's great to see people as young as these lads out here. It's an under-11s team getting involved in Wembley on such a big day.
It is indeed. And still, I have to say, if you are coming for the game, it is very, very changeable weather. It
certainly is.
Skies are blackening over, then they brighten up again, the sun comes out, and then the rain falls, and then the sky opens up again, and then suddenly the sun comes out. So it's all going on. I can tell you, by the way, Pippa Middleton and James Matthew have joyfully kissed outside the church, just in case you missed that.
Hang on, there's a wedding taking place there.
The wedding has happened, there's an actual picture of the happy couple having a kiss outside the church. It's happening in Berkshire. You can't go because it's on a private estate. You haven't been invited, of course, neither have I. Lots of people say, I don't care about this wedding. But trust me, you will be caring about it because you'll be reading about it for the rest of the day and for the rest of the weekend as well.
I don't know why you're so mean-spirited about a young lady on her wedding day.
No, I'm the one that's giving it.
Really
I'm the one that is telling people about what is actually going on. You're the one who doesn't understand what's going on out there in the big wide world. Now, we've got a lot of things to tell people, by the way.
Yes,
because although we're about to come to the end of this show, and very, very shortly Ian Dante's going to be taking over, we've got a busy couple of weeks coming up. We released a new podcast which is called On The Record last week. The second part of that, Chapter 2, will be available on Monday. So look out for us on Twitter. Follow 2 Mics On The Record.
Now, also on Monday night, I didn't want to venture on to this very delicate subject during the show today, but I will be revealing all about the cosmetic procedures that you've been undertaking while you've been off.
Well, how were you revealing anything? You don't know anything.
I do know things.
No, you know nothing.
I do know things, and I want you to tune in, please, folks, to the Late Show on Monday night, which MG and I will be doing, and I will reveal to you graphically exactly what's been going on.
There have been some modern medical miracles going on. This is what I can tell you about.
Medical miracles. I've had to, stop working for 3 or 4 days to enable MG.
Well, it's actually, I'm doing you a favour. I'm actually keeping you alive by managing to monitor your work performance, because what I've been able to do for you is to let you take a couple of days off, have a little bit of time off. Of course, what you ended up doing was going out on the bladderation trail on Thursday nights at the Football Writers' Dinner. Where I'm told that you were actually reasonably well behaved.
I was very well
behaved. But there was
behaved.
plenty of drink taken. And that's not the kind of thing I expect. I expected you to take a bit of R&R and actually look after yourself.
Well, one thing I did do is I got involved involved in making sure the arrangements for the September visit to New York are all
New York
in place.
City, yes, it's all happening, isn't it? Now, we should be able to announce very, very soon the actual ticket line for those seats.
Yep.
We're playing a place called the City Winery, which is in Tribeca, not far from Soho.
Yeah.
Very, very nice place, very trendy. And in fact, Suzanne Vega,
yes,
who's a very famous singer, is going to be right on the stage after us.
She is. That's right. We want all the.
It's all happening.
Want all our TalkSport listeners, please, to get involved in that. We do pump out on our social network systems.
We do what?
We pump out.
Pump out?
Yeah, push out. Pump out, push out, whatever you like.
Yeah, I don't think you could use better words than that, do you?
The modern language. And that is how you keep in touch with those sort of things. And thank you very much indeed for all the interest you've shown.
And don't forget, during the month of June, we're going to be very, very busy doing the mid-morning show for the entire month, right?
We are for the entire month, and we're going to Saturday as well. And by the way, that New York thing's great, because I didn't realise that we have the technology to be able to bring it into people's living rooms.
Living rooms, dressing rooms. Yeah, it's going to be live streamed. If you can't make it there,
if you can't get there,
you can make it anywhere.
If you can't get there, and
do you like what I did there?
You did a Frank Sinatra take on.
If you can't make it there, you can make it anywhere.
You can make it anywhere in your living room, because it'll be streamed live from the show. It'll be like, signing up for one of them boxing matches.
Yeah.
Except funnier.
Except it will be a lot funnier. Now, you're going to be staying for the game, obviously, as will I.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very difficult to stay dry this afternoon.
It is.
Are you planning to stay dry? And you think you know what I mean by that, because we've already had one or two invites already to go and have a little drink.
Put it this way, I'm staying undercover.
Are you?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Won't be out there.
You're not going to be down on the pitch side?
Oh, no. Won't be on the pitch side, no.
Have you spotted a part of the club Wembley scenario that you'd like to go and join in?
Listen, if people want me to come and help improve their day by being around, who am I to say no?
Well, indeed.
Especially when we've had this fantastic hospitality from Club Wembley.
Yes, exactly right. If anybody wants to take Mr. Parry off my hands, by all means, send him a tweet. We are the two mics.
Don't worry,
this has been TalkSport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the two mics on TalkSport.
Bjorn played the piano, didn't he?